Welcome to Sunny Days and Diapers, Unfiltered Motherhood. I'm Alex, and I'm so happy to be here chatting with you about all things parenting, mental health, and everything in between. From the diaper blowouts to those little moments of pure sunshine that remind us why it's all worth it, we'll be diving deep into real stories and heartfelt insights every single month. Whether you're surviving sleepless nights or chasing big dreams in between those nap times, this space is for you. A place where you can feel seen, heard, and understood. So grab your coffee or your favorite drink, take a deep breath, because Sunny Days and Diapers is where every parent's story matters. Let's get started. Hi friends, welcome back to episode 4 of Sunny Days and Diapers. I have to say, honestly, this is the highlight of my month, recording this podcast and just chatting as if you're all here with me in person. I have to say I'm slowly getting used to hearing my voice on the podcast, but it's still pretty weird. So what's been going on lately? Let's catch up. Honestly, these past few weeks, I have been visiting some daycares, but I come to the realization that honestly, we just can't afford it right now. It's so incredibly expensive. I need one in my neighborhood in the Doral area, and geez, man, they are so pricey. And I don't know, like you want a nice place to be able to take your kid. You want them to be able to teach them something good. You want the place to be nice. I don't know. You want it to be nice, not like bougie, but like just nice, And I don't know if it's just the area where I live, where it's a little more expensive, but holy moly. Unfortunately, right now, I don't know if we can afford $300 a week for just one kid. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens in the next few months, kind of keep our usual routine for now. Maybe in the summer, we'll see if we can find another daycare for him or we save up money for this one. I don't know. It's really tough. You want to be at home with your baby, but you also want them to reach their milestones and to learn things that maybe you don't have the time to teach them every single moment of the day. Then you have some people saying that they should start getting socialized with other babies. But then you're like, okay, but they're only one. How much socialization do they need? So it's so many different conflicting thoughts and suggestions. So we're working through it. Besides that, honestly, Ezra has been hitting milestones, which is great. He is saying so many more words, but he is also hitting those tantrums quite intensely. We're working through them, and honestly, we're learning as we go. I need to watch some parenting videos or read some books. If you have any recommendations on how to help your baby get through these like next few months of like just rough emotions and tantrums, just let me know any advice you have. Thankfully, I haven't had a tantrum in a public place yet. There have been instances where it almost happened, but thankfully it didn't. But we're working through them. So I'm actually so excited for today's episode because a few months ago, I asked on my Instagram what some of you might like to hear on our podcast. And today's episode, I'm actually touching on some of the questions and topics that you all included on Instagram. So thank you for those that shared those thoughts and suggestions. So let's get started. The first thing that someone asked me is to share a few things that I wish I would have known before becoming a wife. So this March, actually, my husband and I make 5 years of marriage, which is such a great milestone. And we're so happy and so blessed. And so many things have happened the past 5 years. But honestly, obviously, it's not all rosy and beautiful. There's been some difficult moments, but we're here, we're still going at it. And so I'll start with the first thing that I wish I would have known before becoming a wife. The first thing, this is maybe a little cliche, but there is no I in team, especially in marriage. Marriage is really all about partnership and cooperating together. It's about learning to share not just your life with someone, but your heart, your fears, your dreams, and yes, even the last piece of pizza that you guys are fighting for. When I first got married, I honestly was pretty used to my independence, that I didn't fully understand what it would take to operate as a team with someone. it's the smallest things. Like I didn't realize I needed to share things in my home. I didn't realize I needed to share a room with someone. I didn't realize that I needed to share a bathroom with someone. These things that can easily be triggers to get you upset or to get you mad or to get you frustrated with your partner. I didn't think I was ready for that. Now that I'm reflecting on the past 5 years, we're obviously in a better place now. It's been 5 years, but the first maybe year and a half, I really struggled with that. Um, it's not about, I don't think it's really about losing yourself as an individual, but about building something together that's bigger than just you. Um, and then obviously when you become parents, I think you feel this even more because now you have a third person in the mix. So now you're working as a team, the three of you, and then you and your husband's relationship is so much more important because you're trying to continue and cultivate your marriage while also learning how to parent and learning how to be a good parent and learning how to be a father and a mother. It's really hard. And I think that we don't talk about it enough, of how hard it is on a marriage when you bring in a new life into the family. So for our second point, something that I wish I would have really thought about before getting married is, people always tell you communication is key, but I don't think people really give you the tools to understand that, to actually put it to work, because it's not easy. And I'll have to admit it, I've never been really great at expressing my feelings. I'm a very passive aggressive person, and that really affected my marriage in the first few years. I'm better at it now, but I just wouldn't tell my husband what was wrong. I wouldn't be honest. I would just sulk and expect him to just realize that he did something wrong. And I also don't take criticism really well, never have. And in marriage, those things tend to become more noticeable, and it's not healthy when you let that kind of take root in the marriage. And I think I was letting that take root in the beginning, in the first few years, and now I'm starting to kind of figure out how to uproot those weeds and those things that are detrimental to a marriage, and to our marriage in particular. My husband's very straightforward. He's very, what's wrong? Tell me. And I'm very like, well, you did something wrong. You should know what it is. Maybe all of us girls are like that, but I struggled so much in honestly getting off my high horse and saying, this is not about me. This is about my marriage, and how can we make this better if I'm not communicating? So that was definitely difficult for me, and I just wanted him to read my mind. And trust me, they can't read your mind, and men are in a different mentality than women, and they think differently. So sometimes we just have to break it down for them and explain it to them and just express ourselves, but also understand that we're not always right. And that's just the reality. And I feel like sometimes we make our partners feel bad because we think we're right, but honestly, we're probably very wrong. My next thing, maybe another cliche, but honestly, I wish I would have known to never go to sleep angry with your partner. There have been a couple of nights, not many, but a couple of nights where we've had some pretty bad arguments, where I just went to the room and didn't want to say anything, didn't want to talk, and fell asleep so angry. And then you wake up, and sometimes I don't even remember what the argument was about, but the act of ignoring each other, or going to sleep without saying goodnight, or just being so angry you don't want to do any of that, that kind of starts to create wounds in your heart. And those things tend to open every time it happens, or every time something else triggers you, and it just grows and grows, and then suddenly you will explode because all these things are adding up. So Now my rule is to not go to sleep angry no matter how upset we are with each other. We try not to do that. But in the beginning I did it a few times, and it was quite, I think, detrimental to our growth in our marriage and in our partnership. For the next point, I think that I didn't realize that I should have made time for things that mattered to me. Yes, marriage is about partnership, like we talked about, but it's also about having a balance. And I struggled with, I think, codependency at first. One, we were together. Our first year married was during COVID, so I mean, we were together all the time. So I think this has a part to play in this, but I felt like I needed to spend every single moment with my spouse. And I started to lose the things that made me me before I got married. Hobbies, passions, things that I just wanted to do on my own. And don't get me wrong, I love spending time with my spouse. And if I can spend my time with my spouse all day, I would. But it's so important to add things that matter to each other. Like, for example, I told my husband, hey, you haven't played video games in the past few days. It's okay for you to go play video games if you'd like kind of like encourage to just do your hobbies and do things that make you happy, so that when you're together, you actually enjoy the time you're together and it doesn't feel like a chore or a hassle. So for my husband, it could be watching videos on his own, or learning something new on his own, or playing video games. And then for me, it's maybe coloring, which is something that I've started doing recently. I got a coloring book, which honestly has been so fun, and such a time where I can just relax and literally not think about anything besides coloring in the lines, which honestly I need to work on. But yeah, just having those things that make you are part of you, and that you can bring into your marriage, into your relationship. The next thing I would say, I wish I would have, I mean, I think I knew this, but I didn't practice it. So I wish I would have practiced this in the beginning of our marriage, would be to be quick to listen, but be faster to apologize. I wonder how many problems or conversations or fights we could have solved, or even prevented, if we wouldn't have blurted out things that we didn't mean, if we weren't so upset in the moment that we said hurtful things to each other, if we would have just listened and stop thinking about ourselves. Because honestly, it boils down to being selfish and thinking you're right and thinking you're in, like, you're the correct one in a situation. So I wish I would have been faster to listen, quicker to listen, and even faster to apologize, because I have a difficult time, I think, sometimes apologizing, and I am doing it more. I want to do it more, especially when I realize that, hey, it's not about what I think. It maybe I'm partly correct in a situation, but if in this situation I can diffuse it by apologizing, then I'm gonna apologize, and I'm gonna work on thinking of, like, putting myself in his shoes and realizing, hey, this is not worth the argument. And then last point, I think, realizing and understanding your partner's love language and knowing that it's probably not yours, and learning theirs and really putting it into practice. I think that for me, one of my love languages is words of affirmation, and also spending time together, spending quality time together. And my husband's not a really big words of affirmation guy. It's not his love language. And sometimes I would feel hurt when I didn't get that from him. And I would just expect him to know it. But I mean, in his day-to-day life, he doesn't practice that. It's not a priority for him. He's learning that it's something that I need. And so he's working on it. But now for him, I need to work on also spending quality time with him and not on our phones. So kind of really stepping outside of who you think you are and who you think your partner is, and really asking them, hey, how do you receive love, and how can I be a better partner for you? So I wish I would have known that before getting married. And then to kind of move on to parenthood, the second question that someone posed was, can you share things you wish you would have known before becoming a mom? Which honestly, it's such a long list, but I only have 5, but I could be here probably for quite a while talking about what I wish I would have known before getting pregnant and before having my son. So the first thing is that I wish I would have known that you are going to fail and that it's okay to fail. The truth is that nobody gets it right 100% of the time. I've made mistakes throughout this, motherhood journey that I'm on, big and small. But honestly, I know that those things don't define me as a mom. But I think that I spent too much time worrying about them before, that I didn't appreciate little moments because I was too concerned I was going to mess them up. So now I know that they're just part of the journey, but I wish someone would have told me, hey, it's okay. Right now you're doing a great job, but if things kind of go wrong or if you make a mistake, hey, it's okay. It's all part of learning to be a mom and learning to parent. So if that's you, just know it's okay to fail. It's going to happen. Just, pick yourself back up and go on to the next thing. You're doing great. So the second thing is to honestly follow my mom gut. I think that we have instincts for a reason. I feel like God gave them to us as moms. And it's so easy to start doubting yourself as a mom. One, because I'm a first-time mom, so I have nothing to compare this to. Maybe my second pregnancy, whenever I have another baby, this might be different. Maybe I might appreciate my mom instincts better. But as a first-time mom, I don't have anything to compare it to. So sometimes I kind of ignore this like instinctual part of me that kind of knows what to do. And I start doubting myself and honestly gaslighting my own self as to me not knowing exactly what I'm supposed to do. But honestly, it's coming naturally. So I wish I would have followed my mom gut in the beginning, in the journey of breastfeeding, or in the journey of being home with my baby alone and worrying about every single part of his schedule, of his sleep, of him waking up, of him drinking milk, of him having tummy time. No, it was so much worry, I think, for me in the first few months, that I wish I would have done some of that differently. This one kind of goes into the mom gut one, but for the third one, I would say avoid the Reddit rabbit hole. When Ezra got sick for the first time a few weeks ago, I went down a rabbit hole, and I kind of briefly mentioned that in my last podcast episode. But my husband actually saw me going down the Reddit rabbit hole, and he got pretty upset with me. Not upset, but like he was like, "What are you doing? Why are you going down this rabbit hole? Why are you doing this?" He wasn't even that sick. You start painting a picture in your mind with all the bad things that could happen, when in reality, Ezra was okay. He had a semi-high fever. It was 101, but he was okay. He was drinking water. He was hydrated. He was sleeping. He was stuffy, but he was okay. We were handling it. But your mind starts to play all these games with you, and so you start going down this like tunnel of like, okay, everything's gonna go wrong, and I need to be prepared. There was nothing to be prepared for because everything was fine. So really avoiding that, what I call the rabbit hole. And I even did that when he was recently born. Like when he was a newborn, I remember Googling or going down a couple of different links as to why is my son sleeping so much? What the heck? Now I'm like, why would you do that? Now you're concerned about your son not sleeping enough. Everything is a worry. And so I wish I would have avoided at least some of that early on. for my next one, honestly, to stop worrying so much about bouncing back after having a baby. I remember having someone, not someone close, but someone that I knew like a little bit, making a comment about my body right after having a baby, and this person said, "Hey, you look good. You don't look like the usual mom that gains weight right after having a baby." And I remember being so, first of all, like confused as to why this person was telling me this when we're not even very close. And then the second part was saying, "Wait, what do you mean? Do you tell this to every pregnant or mom, the person that you meet? Because that's incredibly rude." um and now that I think about it, I wish I would have told them they were incredibly rude, but I didn't. I just played it off and walked away and didn't say much. But honestly, there's such a pressure to do this bounce back, to be who you were before, to lose weight or to lose all the baby weight or to have this or to have that. And I struggled with that because I lost weight right after having Ezra because I was depressed. And at this point in my life, I have gained a lot of the weight back. So I'm not as skinny as I was when I recently gave birth. And I am not at the weight that I was before having Ezra. And so that's been a difficult thing to deal with because, for one, I don't have the energy to do much of anything. And then for the second point, I kind of was dealing with some body issues. I didn't really love the way my body looked after giving birth. And I think I relied a lot on eating my emotions and not eating well. But now I'm happy to say that I am going to start working a little bit more on myself, on not just, not working out, losing weight, but just being more comfortable in my body and doing things that make me feel healthier, that make my body healthier, consume things that are better for me, and just in general feeling better about myself as opposed to worrying about the number on the scale. And then the fifth thing is to make your birth plan. When you are, whether you're having an at-home birth, whether you have a doula, whether you have a midwife, whether you're having a scheduled C-section, whether you are planning on having an unmedicated birth at the hospital, have a birth plan, but be flexible. I think having a plan was really empowering for me. I remember walking in and having my little paper and giving it to the nurse, and I'm like, this is what I want. And they received it and accepted it. But I also think that it's equally important to have an advocate in the delivery room with you. Now that I reflect a lot on my birth, on Ezra's birth, on postpartum, on everything, I wish I would have had someone else in the room, maybe a doula or someone that had experience with labor, with supporting a mom during the whole process. My husband was incredibly supportive, and so was my mom, but it's different. So I wish I would have. I wish I would have known that was an option. Of course, that's also an expense you have to incur if you decide to go that route. But I wish I would have maybe thought that through a little bit more. So there you have it. Those are some of the big lessons I've learned along the way of being both a wife and a mom. And whether you're a wife or a mom or just someone trying to figure it all out, remember that none of us have it completely together, and that's okay. Life is messy and beautiful, and we're all just doing our best. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Sunny Days in Diapers, and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much for joining us today on Sunny Days in Diapers. I hope today's episode brought a little sunshine and realness to your journey in motherhood. Remember, whether today feels like a sunny day or a diaper day, you're not alone, and you're doing an incredible job. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out our next chat. And hey, if you know a mom or dad who could use a little encouragement, share the love and pass this episode along. I'd love to hear from you.
feel free to reach out on at Sunny Days in Diapers on Instagram. Your stories, your thoughts, they mean the world to me and my husband, and they help make this community stronger.